Welcome to Optimal Game State. This is part two in my quick, short videos looking at some of the solo and co-op games that I've been reading up on recently. So the video that I've just done before this would have been the Stargrave, Frostgrave, Silver Bayonet. Now I want to look at Rangers of Shadowdeep. So Rangers of Shadowdeep is different to the others in that the others were or are two-player games or campaign games where you're playing against each other primarily. They have solo game or co-op elements. Now, Rangers of Shadowdeep, on the other hand, is designed from the get-go as a solo and a co-op game. This is by the prolific Joseph A. McCullough again. And this is a very, very interesting book. Now, this is the most recent edition. There are a few other ones out here, but it's the most recent one by Modifius. It is quite a big book. I think maybe it could have benefited from being in the smaller format. But yeah, it is what it is. It's nice, good quality paper, I think. And what you're doing here is you are setting up a warband, creating a ranger, and you are going to play through a fixed set of solo games. And then you are going to build up your fighter, you're going to build up your warband, and you're going to keep playing through a preset story. So that's a bit of an interesting one. Now, yeah, I do think this would be a fantastic one to play co-op. Everyone could make up their own ranger, and then you could play through the game and play through those scenarios as if it was a kind of a solo RPG, because you have the full board to play through. Everything is kind of laid out already. There is a very nice detailed how the bad guys work. I have it handy. Okay, so section here explaining how to split it into 4 players if you wanted to. Where do we have the rules on it? Oh, it is in here somewhere. Bear with me. It's not the back. Oh, let's try. I don't know. Progression, experience, campaign, ending this. Okay, yeah, sorry. Here we go. So this is how the evil players work. So you have your checklist. So is it in combat? If it's in melee combat, it'll fight melee combat. If it's not melee combat, can it see a hero? They may not always be aware of them. They're always kind of stealth your way around. There are special abilities that will make sure the bad guys can't see you, which is kind of cool. So it'll explain what it'll do if it can see you, which typically is, if it's got a missile weapon, it'll shoot. Otherwise, it'll reload, or it'll, if it doesn't have a melee weapon, or if it doesn't have a missile weapon, it'll move over to an attack. And then it'll talk about target points. So target points are very, very interesting. I think they are in the Frostgrave and Stargrave games, but I didn't mention them yet. But it is the idea that for the AI to work, sometimes it needs to have something to do if it doesn't know what else to do. So if it can't see any enemies, if it isn't aware if there's anything out there, these give it a point to move towards. This is something that is specified in the particular scenario. So often there will be, some buildings. The bad guys will often move towards buildings because they'll be spawning off from the edges, and that kind of gives them a focus bit. Okay, sorry. So we're getting off track. Okay, but we're back to move, fight, shoot, armor, will, health. So this is in the Frostgrave, Stargrave kind of style of things, which make things nice and simple. We have build points here, so it is a little bit easier or a little bit more complicated in how you can actually build your stats. In your character generation, you can choose to spend additional points to increase those stats. You have a ton of special abilities that you can get. Now, those were things that were available, I think, or were available in Frostgrave and Stargrave. I do believe that this is a little bit more flexible, maybe, that this has more options. And one of the great things about this is because it is designed to be solo or co-op, you don't really care about balance. Obviously, you're going to try do your best to make sure that all the options are equally attractive. What I'm trying to say is, if you're playing a game and you manage to find an absolutely broken combo, you can play it and you can win. you know, and you're not crushing anyone, you're not destroying anyone. At worst, if you're playing co-op play, you might kind of overshadow someone. Um, but more often than not, when you're playing a game like that and you kind of find the easy way of doing things, you now have the options to try things in different ways. So what's notable about this is the Rangers, who is the main character, and everyone who is playing this as their kind of main character. So all the players will build a Ranger, and then the Rangers will have people that come along with them. So what are they called? Mm-mm-mm. Here we go. This is the stuff they're called companions. So Arcanist, an archer, barbarian, guardsman. A little bit more detail, a little bit of a write up than the charts that we had before, but basically it's the same thing. You know, you have the cost to get them in, the list of stats, and the gear they have. All relatively straightforward. Now, this version of, I guess you would call the Frostgrave Stargrave line, you also have skills because your focus here is on solo or co-op play. They've introduced the idea of skills. Now, in this case, what a skill is just something that you can roll against, and you'll be rolling your d20, and then if they have the skill, if they have bonuses for it, then they'll be able to do it better than they would otherwise. Relatively straightforward. How is that going to come up though? How is read runes going to come up? The answer is it's in the scenario. This can be something that they put into the scenario and it'll give you a minor bonus. Often it will be something along the lines of you'll find a magic dagger. There will be a roll check to see if you can read the runes. If you manage to succeed at that check, you will discover what kind of magical dagger it is and you will be able to use it straight away. Otherwise, you might have to pack it away and you'll be able to sell it off for so much, or you might not recognize what it means, and you might end up leaving it behind, something like that. Or pick lock. If you have pick lock, you can open a door and get through into the next room, and if you don't have it, then you have to kind of either take a different approach or a different way. Basically, these are story elements that you can add to the game, and the skills let you do off it. That does require a scenario. So the scenario needs to have those elements. Like, it doesn't work in a two-player game, if that makes sense. Because yeah, it needs to be something that the scenario developers kind of worked out. Similar with the extensive amount of gear. So obviously we've got kind of the basic weapons. You got your daggers, your armor, your quiver, your bow, but stuff like rope. Why would you have rope? Why is rope useful? Okay, well, this gives you options for climbing. So I have a better example. Focusing crystals for magic stuff. Okay, no, maybe I don't have a particular good example there, but I was thinking that maybe there could be more things that were kind of skill related, so stuff that you wouldn't normally have um, a two-player competitive game, but that you will have more of an option for in a scenario. Okay, so we have companions. Talks about some of the guys you can get. It's cool, cool, cool. And then here we're getting into the campaign. So the campaign is kind of the key part about this whole thing. We have our injury rules. So if they ooh, grim. Okay, so yeah, if it looks bad, they make a survival roll. If they roll a 1 to 2, then they're dead. If they roll a 3 to 4, it's permanent injury. What is this on a d20? I hope it is on a d20. I'm not entirely sure. Grim. Looks like it's probably on d20. So 9 plus is a full recovery. So 50-50 to fully recover. But there's the kind of color of losing an arm and how that would actually affect you. We have the ways you kind of level up. And in this one, it does also give some bonuses that you can have, I believe, yeah, for your companions. So as your warband levels up, you do get, in addition to leveling up your main character, you do also get to give some minor bonuses to your buddies. So it is just +1 health, fight or shoot, +4 to a single skill. So if they don't have a skill, they have to add it. +2 will, choose a heroic ability or spell. So those are the fancy ones. So it's all relative minor stuff, and you're only going to, they can never get more than 100, so they're never going to get better than that. Yeah. We've got some potions, herbs, just stuff. Extra stuff that'll help, that will give a benefit. All right. Now, again, we talked about this before, but this particular book works best if you have the models and you have the scenery for it. Now, there is a certain amount of comfort you're going to have this with this yourself. I haven't played this yet. So the first one is 6 zombies, 3 giant rats, 6 giant spiders, and 3 survivors. I do actually have a box that I've pegged for doing some survivor models. I do have 6 zombies, although they're not here. They're in storage at the moment, so I need to head to a different county to get those. Similar to giant rats. And I do have the giant spiders around. I'm not sure if I have 6 or not. One of the dilemmas with this particular one, we have events again. And these happen at the end of each turn. And we can get more. So more zombies, more zombies, more zombies, more zombies, more giant rats, more giant rats. And then, yeah, a couple of other things that could possibly happen. And then, yeah, we've got the map itself has a bunch of buildings and has a bunch of trees all the way around. You do not need to have exactly what it has here. You can replace those zombies with skeletons. No one is going to be judging you. You're the one playing it. Even if you're doing co-op, no one cares. You can reskin all of this. You do like the stats, I believe, are at the back. So they are at the back of each campaign. So they're all mini campaigns here that you can chain up together. So yeah, here we got some bats, civilians, some other bad things, some bad things. Oh good lord, more bad things. So many bad things. Okay, so there are some skeletons, some zombies. Yeah, so it's the zombies we're talking about here, right? Zombies. So we have some numbers for them. They're basically just the same numbers as we're using for the normal fighters. So you know we know what's going on here. This isn't anything weird or strange. But just because you're zombies doesn't mean you can't use the different models. You just need to be comfortable with it. This is something where you know you might consider looking through everything just to work out what you need. Does it say? I think one of them did say a full list of everything you'd need. Okay, so it's at the start of each of the missions. So we're gonna need a bunch of gnolls. So probably should pick up a box. Frostgrave gnolls probably would be a good option for that. No surprise really. And then there's a few more specific. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Wrong section. Where are we gone? There. More gnolls. More gnolls. Oh, that mission is different, is it? Doesn't actually say what we need for it. Must be stuff that's spawning. Regardless, the point here is you get your collection, you have a look what's here. If there are gaps, you know, what you can do is you can round out your collection to try to get it. But more often than not, what you should be doing is looking at what you have, looking at what you have in your collection and reskinning things. There's nothing wrong with that. But these are games where you're going in, you're looking for your clues. The clues will spawn things, will reveal bits of the story. And then as the, yeah, this is, oh, interesting. So they switched, for this one, they switched it around compared to what we saw in Silver Bayonet. So in this case, you're rolling for the clues and you're drawing cards for the events that are happening at the end of each turn. But this is what it's all about. It's the XP at the end. So you're looking to get in. You're looking at largely just complete XP objectives and then get out alive. Do it with minimum damage. A lot of the time, what happens is these ramp up. So the longer you spend hanging around, the worse things you're going to get. Now, this particular one does end after 8 turns. And you can see here there are 9 cards in total. So at the end of each turn, something's going to happen. And you know you're going to get all but one of those. So there'll be a bit of variety. There'll be one thing missing from each time you run this, but largely it is going to be a ramping up, more and more dangerous as each turn goes on. You're going to want to get in and get out. So there's a certain point in which you need to decide to bug out. Often that is a matter of getting out to the corners and moving off, or moving off to one of the sides, which is a fine way to leave. Some of them will specifically say that you have to stay for all of it. But yeah, in this case, the game is to get in, to explore, to find out what's going on, and then try to get out with your life. And then you move on to the next one. I just really, really like that idea. So this, I think it's a good purchase. I think it is a bit of a hobby piece to do. Now, North Star Miniatures, who do a lot of the Frostgrave and Stargrave, also do a line of Rangers of Shadowdeep. So between all of that, you could definitely put together a selection to cover these particular stories, and then you could play it out. As I mentioned before, I personally would feel that you're probably going to be best off putting this together with a buddy and then playing that through the two of you. I think that's a bit more of experience. Alternatively, what you can do is you can obviously record it as you solo play it. GMG, Guerrilla Miniature Games, does do a series, does do a chunk of these Joseph McCullough games where he plays them out and you can watch him play it, which, it's kind of cool. There is also another book. Now, I say there's another book. There's actually tons of PDFs that Joseph McCullough has done for this. He is prolific, and he does have a Patreon that you can check out that has even more. This particular one is a collection of more stuff. So let me quickly go back here. So the main core book that this is was actually printed with some extra bits in it. Okay, so this new edition contains all the material found in the original, plus all the additional character creation options found in the Temple of Madness supplement. So yeah, there is extra stuff in this particular one beyond the original PDFs, the original book that was released. And if I go back to the back, I think after that first campaign, it shows Burning Light. I believe Burning Light is a PDF that you could separately pick up, but obviously if you've got this book, you don't need to. And is that first one called something? I don't know. Okay. This is similar. This is a collection of different PDFs that were available. So if you have them, you might already have them, and that have been put together into one big thing. So what do we have here? Blood Moon is one of them. I guess that means Ghost Stone is one, and Incinerator. So those are 3 campaign series that have been put together. So if I just flick forward, you can see here they're. Is that the very start of it? Yeah. Okay. So mission for 0 to 5 and level. Oh, interesting. So 2 different kinds. Wonder if it scales. The only difference is one company should be centered on. Oh, so you get to play 2 different companies. Oh, that's fun. 2 different Ranger companies, and they work independently. Okay. But I mean, it's largely the same as we've seen before. You get miniatures, you put them together. You have your scenario. Again, clue markers and events, and typically we have that format again and again. And it's get in, do what you need to do to get some XP, and then try get out alive. And it is that. I'm just going to double check that. I'm pretty sure you can just leave, and I'm pretty sure it is recommended that you just leave. But we are going to quickly flick back just to double check. Maybe I'm mistaken in saying that. Apologies. Obviously, listening to me is kind of rough. Okay, so moving off table. At any point, you can move the table. If they're carrying treasure secured. They're now at the game in that short scenario. Snares may occasionally allow fighters to be pushed off table. Some scenarios. Yeah, okay. So you're out of the game and may not return to the next scenario. And I think there's probably something about games ending. And yeah, games will end when everyone is off the table or is dead. Relatively straightforward. Okay. Not dwell too much on that. Okay, so this is the these are more the same. So basically, if you manage to play through those, you get more content to this. Now, this section here is also new stuff. So specifically, we've got some new traits, some advanced character generation, limitations, which are if the min, if you're min maxing. So there's some flaws that you can add in. I'm going to skip this for a second, and then you've got a few new companions, including animal companions. So that is fun. What are the new things? Traits. So traits are like abilities, but are always on. Okay. We have enchant arrow, ensure hardship, steady feet, spellcaster. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Limitations for like absent-minded, poor eyesight. Okay, fair enough. What did it get you? Um, I assume they give you more build points. Yeah, you get some build points, more skill points. But where before you only had rangers, you now have the option to take a few additional archetypes. Now, one of the ideas with this is that something was going on and it was the Rangers who kind of poke around and find out. So one thing that you can do is you could build your Rangers and kind of play through your Rangers so far, and then once shit starts getting real, then the reinforcements come in, and then you could start building characters out of this. Or alternatively, what you could do is you could start building these characters from the get go. These are just different ways of playing, where the where the Rangers, I guess, kind of a classic D&D Ranger. He's got a little bit of, I mean, he can fight in melee, he can fight in range, he's got a little bit of spell casting. I don't think there was anything that's kind of distinctively rangery about him to a certain extent. Like, yeah, because you could build them in certain ways. You know, you could kind of go for an all-out melee fighter. You could go for an all-out archer. You could have gone down a spell route. But I think to a certain extent, the idea is that these are kind of classical D&D rangers. Options now we have the Red Hawk Knights. So all of these characters will have some benefits. So they all have heavy armor proficiency. So if wearing heavy armor, they ignore the minus move penalty. They've got deflect arrows and they've got save the children. So they get a special bonus of 15 XP anytime they rescue a kid, which is very, very cool. But they also have limitations. So cannot be a spellcaster, cannot use missile fire, and never can leave the table if there's a child on threat on it. So it's just a different character with, you know, some kind of bonuses and some penalties. And they got a bunch of skills kind of pre-built into them. They've got minuses and plus minuses. We've got Chthonian mages that kind of focus on spell casting, and they look kind of creepy, I'm not going to lie. And we've got river sharks that are a little bit more like the kind of a pirate-esque character. We've got servants of Seth that seem to be clerics. I'm quite intrigued by that. I'm a bit of a fan of Satesh myself. We have Varakian archers. Now, before when I was saying that the Rangers of Shadowdeep, they're kind of a bit of everything, these are dedicated archers. So they've got double shot, they've got fire shot, they've got smoke shot. All very cool. Where's limitations? Limitations: no heavy armor or shield, and no spells. So all of that other stuff that you know you could have done with your rangers, but maybe you didn't. These are just completely dedicated archers, which is very cool. We've got vampire hunters, kind of playing up on that cool theme that we do have in some of the models recently from Age of Sigmar. Scrollmaster, which seems to be a dedicated spellcaster. Incarnate Delvers, which are interesting. These are kind of like rogues in D&D, again, in that they're really, really focused on skills. So they get a ton of skill points. Their limitations are so no heavy armor, no shields, no two-hand weapons. So they are quite limited in what they can do for damage dealing to a certain extent. But they are very, very skillful. So they're kind of problem solvers. Very, very cool. We've got Wasteland Fire Swords, which I don't know what they do, but they sound kick-ass. And then Shadowdeep Survivors or Deserters. And one of the things is you can actually make these as as companions as well, I think. Start with 90? No, they can't. Oh yeah, sorry, okay, the new companions are here at the end. So we've got a battle mage, a healer, illusionist, and a spy. Could have sworn there was something about getting one of these. Maybe I'm mistaken. Oh yeah, here we go. As a companion. Okay, other figures may take a survivor as a companion. In this case, treated as a modification package to a standard companion. Okay, so the figure can purchase a companion for the standard recruitment point cost. Then the figure should be given the disguise of the enemy in shadow. Okay, so they had a couple of bonuses and they got a couple of penalties. Oh, that's kind of cool. And then we've got some animals. And yeah, okay, that's some cool stuff. Let me just pause it here. Okay, and we're back. Apologies for that. Going out the door. All right, so again, we're doing that with a clue idea. Yeah, I don't want to. I kind of don't want to spoil stuff here. So there's just tons of material, and it is a story that has been kind of set out for you to explore, which I think is really really cool. And yeah, you get to play it out and kind of advance. And because you are playing against a game, you know it's fine to be as cheesy and break things as much as you want, but and you're kind of telling a story. I do feel that this is a project though, and I have to admit I really think it's a really cool project because you are going to need to get all of the NPCs, all of the enemies, for each of these campaigns. So at the start, and you're gonna have to do it for your heroes as well. So you're gonna have your heroes and you're gonna have the warband. But yeah, for this one, and I do believe that there is a certain amount of repetition. There are kind of certain creatures. He does seem to like wolves. For some reason, he likes flies. Um, I haven't read through this one, but you know, I mean, if we are going to be fighting battles in this kind of terrain, it could be a pretty cool terrain project. Um, yeah, so I picked this one up having not yet played through this side of it, purely because of the extra options to kind of create characters. Personally, I don't think that's necessarily something you should do. My recommendation would be to check out this one first, just the standard edition, and if it is something you liked, then and you played through and you had some games on, then you could pick up the Gathering of Heroes expansion to it. Yeah, Blood Moon, Temple Madness, Incinerator. Oh, okay. So Temple of Madness is in this, but those rules from Temple of Madness were in there. Okay. It looks like a fantastic project. It looks like something really, really fun that you could do, and you could play with by yourself, or you could play with a buddy. And so this does look like a great thing that you could actually put together a character for, put together a few different model options, let your buddy develop their character, play it out, and then once a week meet up and play through the scenarios. This looks like it could be a lot of fun, and I am quite excited to start working on that project. Now, I will say, I am a GW fan. I have lots and lots of GW models. So I am probably going to try reskin a bunch of this into GW models as I can. Um, but I'm not adverse to picking up some of the North Star models, or using whatever models I have just lying around that will also get the job done. So there are options, but yeah, personally, what I'm going to try to do, I think, is I'm going to try use my GW collection because it's quite extensive, and I am going to try um play that out. Now, one extra note on that. I'm just going to pause this briefly. So I was just saying that I've got tons of GW miniatures. I also have D&D miniatures. Um, I have a vast collection of things, and you don't necessarily need to use actual miniatures for this game. So I have something I can stick this in. It's probably a bit of a big one, but there we go. A little bit of a smaller one. So there are plenty of ways that you can actually play these kind of games without necessarily having the miniatures and still have a great experience. Because a bunch of nulls, who cares really? You can get probably a better experience if you actually had the full thing. But there's nothing wrong with having a little stabby goblin. These are the spiders that I was saying I was going to use. More psychotic goblins, little gnome. So, just because it isn't a fully painted proper model doesn't mean you can't use something else as a stand-in. So just keep that in mind. Remember, these games are to have fun. It is not about making the perfect recreation of everything. But if you have something, if you don't have a model and want to get a stand-in for something, there are other options out there. Whether that is simply just a kind of a basic token. I have used this for many games. So it's just a little notice, a little disc with a symbol on it, and it kind of gets that across for your game. Anyway, just a thought, just to kind of keep that in mind. It is a great project. It looks like it's a very, very fun game, and you could take it as far as you wanted. And I just wanted to show you that there are a few other options. You don't necessarily have to have a full, completed, official North Star collection before you actually play the game. All right. Thank you for listening, and let's move on to the next one. Thanks for making it all the way to the end. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Each week I put up a new video talking about one of Games Workshop's specialist games. The goal is always to try and make the best possible two-player experience. If this is something you'd find interesting, please subscribe to the channel and comment to let me know what you'd like to see in future.